Sometimes you just got to get off the farm. It's an adage people use to suggest a change of scenery. But in 1971, a group of folks came across the country in a caravan of school buses to settle on 1,400 acres outside of Summertown, Tennessee. The farm was the change they needed. For 40 years now, they've grown families, made neighbors, and shared their knowledge and friendship. Relaxed yet committed, today the farm hosts workshops on midwifery, eco-village training, and farm school summer camps where children learn to be citizens of the earth. So join us as we get back down on the farm.
The idea was to put together a life that would be more in harmony with the earth, which, came under the concept of right livelihood, that your work would be seamless with your ideals. And so we tried to develop ways of making a living to support ourselves that would not compromise those ideals, but help us work in tune with the earth, and something that would be helpful for other people and the rest of mankind. And so one of the ways we've done that is through a number of different nonprofits where we do relief and development work around the world. We work with refugees and homeless sheltered children that come here for a program in the summer, and to pass on some of those ideals onto a generation that might not receive that type of exposure. They say that, not to put your treasures where moth and dust may corrupt. And so you don't see a lot of fancy buildings and things around here. What we've really done is put our attention into the land. We have 1,700 acres here, and over 1,000 acres are set aside strictly as a nature preserve.
Human beings can actually work together and work in a really positive way, to where they're supportive and they can build something that's very positive. And I think where this is giving us glimpses of the future, what can actually happen environmentally, we're right now in a lot of ways destroying our nests. Global warming is a reality, no matter what Rush Limbaugh has to say about it. There's enough scientists who believe it, and we're going to see more extremes in climate changes. We're going to see more trees dying. We're going to see more species leaving. We're going to see the environment which we depend upon, which has a lot to do with growing our food, change in a lot of ways. And so the more we can start developing bonds between each other as human beings and figuring out how we can cooperate and work together, the better we're going to be able to, as a society, country, or even world, handle mass diversity, mass adversarial conditions. And so I think that's really important too. Solar cells, getting to from the actual mechanics of it, solar cells, solar voltaic cells can be put on people's roofs. There's a few people in Nashville and in Cookeville and Knoxville who do installations, and people should check those out. It used to be something that was esoteric, that was something that people with a lot of money did, and something that really didn't pay anything. Maybe it was just something fancy that you could point to on your house and say, hey, I got solar voltaics, big deal. Maybe it was something you could talk about at your party. But now it's more important than that, and now it's actually going to be able to give you energy independence, real independence from the electric companies that are producing it, and even from the government that regulates it. The more we can do that stuff, the better. The more we can grow our own food, produce our own power that's not regulated by big companies, the more independent we will become as people.
This is the community garden, and we started this about last year. Most of us have gardens around our houses, but we also have our houses kind of in the woods, and as the trees got taller, we just weren't getting enough sun. We had used these fields back in the old days, for large, big-scale farming, but we really didn't need to do that as we went through our social economic change, and people were just more doing standard jobs for a living, not trying to make a living at farming. But we felt like we wanted to get back out here where the full sun was. One of the things that's fun here, this represents 10 different family groups. Some spots are owned by individual families, others have 2 or 3 families working together, sharing a spot. People have many different styles of gardening. You've got your raised beds. These folks have theirs set up in like an interesting pattern. And then we'll take a look over here at an example of square foot gardening, where you're kind of doing a real concentration of many different plants within a small bed. And it's just been really an enjoyable social atmosphere as well. All the people out here working together on their gardens.
Our family moved here about a year ago, year and a half ago. And we are starting our garden out here in the community garden. I think it's where you really get in touch with the source of, just feeding your food, feeding your family and feeding your soul. And it's a place to do good work.